Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Beer Geek Nation. I'm your host, Chris. Thank you for joining me once again for another installment of Pumpkin Beer Week Part 2. And today, guys, we're looking at the second Elysian beer of the three that they bottle. This is their Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout. Very interesting. 6.5% alcohol by volume. It's brewed with pumpkin seeds like Night Owl, as well as cinnamon. So it's gonna have a really nice twist. Maybe get some chocolate, coffee, add that cinnamon there. Should be very cool. So let me get into a glass so you guys know how it smells, tastes, and give me the verdict on Elysian's Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout. All right, guys, so the appearance on the Dark of the Moon, typical classic stout, you know, poured that black, brown, very dark, viscous looking. There was a nice 2 to 3 fingers of a really nice khaki colored head on there. Kind of an espresso, like a latte looking head. Really tight white bubbles sticking around. Lots and lots of lacing on this one. Not getting any alcohol like to speak of. Decent amount of carbonation though between the head and the actual beer itself. Can't see any light through this one. Yeah, it just looks like a classic stout. All right, guys, the aroma on the Dark of the Moon. Yeah, I mean, classic stout once again. You're getting that, you know, slight dark chocolate, slight coffee, maybe a little like a bittersweet type of chocolate in there. Touch of cinnamon. There's definitely a touch of like a spiciness in there, maybe a little bit of a nuttiness, a little bit of an earthiness, maybe even a little bit of like an ashiness in there as well. Yeah, big roasted malts in this one, a touch of sweetness. Really interesting smelling stout. All right, guys, so the taste on the Dark of the Moon. Cheers. Yeah, it's really interesting. Right at the front of the tongue, you're immediately hit with that cinnamon. Nice, spicy, sweet cinnamon, and almost immediately followed by like a bittersweet chocolate, a dark chocolate, nice kind of espresso notes in there. Middle of the mouth, the stout just kind of explodes. A big, velvety, smooth, soft mouthfeel to this one. More dark chocolate, a slight milk chocolate sweetness coming through. More coffee. There's a slight, maybe even like a sweetness from like a vanilla bean. Definitely getting the cinnamon in the middle of the mouth, playing off that darkness, that bitterness from the dark chocolate as well. Aftertaste, definitely a dry finish on this one. Getting some cinnamon, more of that nuttiness, a bit of like an ashiness, a really dry kind of smokiness in this one as well. It's not like a smoke beer or anything, but definitely kind of a smoky characteristic, a nuttiness in there. Definitely getting more of that cinnamon in the aftertaste as well. You know, it's a really solid stout with some cinnamon highlights in it. Nothing like I would expect from like a pumpkin beer, but just a really well crafted, interesting tasting beer. All right, guys, so the final verdict on the Elysian Dark of the Moon Pumpkin Stout, 6.5% alcohol by volume, available now, guys. Gonna give this one a B. You know, it's a really well-crafted stout. You get those classic stout characteristics, you know, the chocolate, the coffee, the roastedness, nice dry finish on it. And the cinnamon is just barely there. You would barely know this was a pumpkin beer unless I told you what it was. There's a slight nuttiness. I'm assuming it's from the pumpkin and the pumpkin seed. And that cinnamon is ever so slight, just to kind of play off the dark chocolate. So it's a very subtle taste. Again, it's 6.5%. It does pack a lot of punch for that flavor. But would I call it a pumpkin beer? I would be pressed to do so. But it's a very interesting idea. I don't know that I've ever had a pumpkin stout, but it's a solid, well-crafted brew, and it's definitely worth trying. So with that said, going to get a B for me. And remember, folks, life's too short. Drink amazing beers. Cheers.